Hello everyone and welcome to this brand new channel called Automation Insight. This is the first video in my TIA Portal and Factory IO series, and in this series I'll be sharing my journey and knowledge about TIA Portal and Factory IO. I will be showing you how to use these tools to dive into the world of PLC programming. So in today's video we'll be focusing on connecting the three main pieces of software that we need to fully simulate an automation project. And by the end, you'll be set up and ready to bring your automation project to life in a virtual environment. The first software we'll be using is called PLC SIM Advanced. This acts as a virtual substitute for a physical PLC, allowing us to test our code without any hardware. It connects everything so we can run our automation project entirely in software. The second software we'll be using is called Factory IO. This is our 3D factory simulation environment where all the visualization happens. Our third software is called Siemens TIA Portal V18, and this is our programming environment where we write all the code. With these tools, you will be able to create and test automation setups just like you would in a real factory, but from the comfort of your computer. So let's get started and set everything up you need to begin building automation projects. So we're going to start by setting up Factory IO, and this is a software that needs license. All three softwares do require a license, but you can use a trial that is free of use to all three softwares. So I recommend you start by using the trial. I will link the description to them down below. But after the trial, you need to get a full license, either if you get it from your workplace or if you get it maybe from your school. I'm currently studying in automation, so I have licensing from my school. But yeah, depending on why you're watching these videos, maybe you are already working in automation or you're studying. So yeah, you will require a license. So when you start Factory IO, you're going to come to this home page and we're going to click on Open. And you have My Scenes or Scenes. So these are the scenes provided by Factory IO. And yeah, my goal here on this channel is that we are going to try and cover all of these scenes one by one, starting from basic up to more advanced. And when you have done your scene, you can save them under My Scenes and you will find them here. So for this video, we're going to use the first scene in Factory IO called From A to B. So we're going to click it and we're going to jump into the virtual environment. And yeah, take your time and play around with the controls, how to navigate through here. It's a really nice, cool environment. And you have different settings bar here. I'm not going to go into much details about like all the commands. You can click around and yeah. So we're going to focus on setting up the project, right? So in order to connect Factory IO to both our virtual PLC and to the programming environment, we need to go into File and to Drivers. And here where you see driver, it's going to say none, and we need to select our PLC SIM controller or driver. So if you downloaded the PLC SIM correctly and installed it, it's going to recognize it here and you can choose it, and then it will automatically take all the inputs and outputs from your scene and put it into this controller. These four called Factory IO on the left side and the right side. You don't actually need them for anything. You can use them for specific stuff, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So this one we don't need. If you want to take an input or an output away, you can just simply left click and release it. Same with this and this. Just take it away, and then you can drag stuff here and put it wherever you want. So yeah. Or I can show you actually how to remove this, because we don't need this input for this video. So if you go to configuration, you can actually decide how many in and outputs you want. So we're just going to change this number 2 to a number 1, and we go back. And you now see that we only have 1 input and 1 output. So this is all we need for now. If we're going to press connect now, you're going to notice that we're getting an error because the factory IO software cannot detect a virtual PLC to connect to. So that's what we're going to fix now. We're going to give factory IO a way to connect to the virtual PLC and into TIA Portal. So now when we have opened PLC SIM Advanced, it's going to look like this, and it might look scary, a lot of buttons and things to press on, but the only thing we need to worry about right now is just this little arrow here. You're going to press it, and then you're going to have to put in a name for your PLC. And in order to make this work with factory IO, so get the link established, you have to name the instance name factory IO. Let's see. There we go, factory IO, because it won't recognize like the software if you type anything else, it won't work. Just leave the PLC family default to the first option here. We're gonna simulate a 1500. This is like the newer series of their PLC. So yeah, that's what we're gonna simulate. And you can just press start here. And Windows will give you a lot of notification that it has detected an IP address on this address. So it's gonna do like 4 to 5 notification. That's nothing to worry about. It's just gonna say that it has detected this instance. It's gonna be yellow for now, and that's no problem. That's how it's gonna be for now. But to check if everything worked, you can just go back to factory IO now, and this was red because we couldn't connect. If we try to connect now, we should be able to have a connection, and there we have it. So now the link between this software and the virtual PLC has been established. So now we have reached the final part of this video, where we are going to create our first project and verify that our signals are working as intended. So go ahead and create a new project and name it anything you want. First project sounds nice, and just choose where you want your projects to be stored and press create. When we come to this page, we're going to open up the project view, and this is where all our coding is taking place. So what we're going to do now in order to verify everything is to add a PLC to the project, and then we're going to take in the tags from the factory IO and verify live that the signals actually are working. So first thing to do is to right click here under the first project file, go to properties, protection, and then check this support simulation during block compilation. If you don't do this, the simulation won't work, so do this the first thing you do so you don't forget it. Next up is adding our new device here, and we're going to add a PLC. So open up the 1500s folder, open up the CPU folder, and just take the first folder of CPUs and open it. Then choose the third CPU or PLC and change the version from 2.9 to 2.6. I'm not going to go into detail about all these different types and what they do. This PLC is good enough for all the projects that we're going to do now in the simulated world. So just make sure you have the same PLC as in the video here. So now you can see the PLC on the left hand side here, PLC 1. And if you open up program blocks, this is your main block where you're going to put all your functions and code. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because we need to bring in the signals from factory IO, the PLC tags. So you can close this one, and we're going to go to PLC tag and add new tag table, and we go inside. So this is the place where we can add our tags. And if you remember from factory IO, if I open up here again, we have this conveyor and this sensor. So this conveyor is an output and this sensor is an input. And if we open up the drivers tab, you can see here that the sensor is located on address input 0.0 and the conveyor is on output 0.0. So we need to match both the name and the address in order for the connection to work. So let's go back to TIA Portal. I'm going to type sensor, hit enter, and type conveyor and hit enter. So notice here that TIA Portal will just automatically assign the first address and then follow up by the next one. This is both input, as you can see, input 0.0 and input 0.1. So the sensor here is correct. We can just leave it like it is, but we need to update this to a Q, which stands for the output, and change this 0 on the end, this 1 on the end to a 0. Press enter. So now when we have our tags, we can actually go ahead and update our virtual PLC by downloading to a device. So this is how it works. Like, we work in this TIA Portal, and when we have made a change, you need to download it so that the change that you did in the code actually gets to the PLC. So we're going to go ahead and press download to device. And if it's the first time you connect to a device, it's going to ask if it's trustworthy, and you can just press connect. Then it's going to compile your program and look for any errors. And if no error was found, you're going to press load. And here it's just going to give us a message that it noticed that the PLC is not started, and it wonders if we want to start it as well. If you remember the PLC SIM, it's yellow here because it's not started. So if we press start module and we press finish, we should get a green PLC status. Perfect. So now we went from yellow to green, and the code has been downloaded. And what we can do now to verify this is if we let's see, if we pop this window out, I'm just gonna make it a little smaller for you. And we're gonna open up our factory IO. Let's see if I can do this like this. We're just gonna remove TIA Portal for now. What's going on with my screen? Okay, like that. Perfect. So now if we press this monitor all, you can actually see the value of the signal live. So this is a very powerful tool, and you're gonna use it all the time for testing stuff. And yeah. So notice now that this sensor, if I press stop here, you can see this is the sensor, and this is a normally closed sensor. So right, I think it's a normally closed, because right now it is giving us a true, even though the sensor is not broken. So if I go ahead and start this scene, and we're gonna activate the conveyor. Oh, sorry for the window flipping. But as soon as the sensor is broken, you can see the signal here went to false. So if you come this far now, we have verified our signals, and we now know that the program is working, or not the program, but that the information between the softwares are working correctly. And that was all that this episode was about, connecting PLC SIM, Factory IO, TIA Portal. So yeah, that summarizes this first video. If you made it through, well done. And in the next video, we're actually gonna do some coding. So yeah, stay tuned for the next episode.